bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
You were so close, Gumby. In fact, Chris was first. Let's go. Happy Saturday, everybody. Man, I made it under the wire. I was taking care of some stuff tonight, and I was like trying to throw the kids right into bed. I hadn't started the music yet. Y'all hopped on so damn fast, I hadn't turned on the music yet. No one studies for the Network Plus. I know, man. I mean, depends on what skill level you're at, dude. Like, if you're just beginning, yeah, you might study for the Network Plus. I mean, I decided to go straight to the Cisco route, but... How do I deal with burnout and not wanting to study on TryHackMe or any other stuff? You take a break, Gumby. So it's funny you mentioned that, because I was actually thinking about that earlier today, and because there was a lot of stuff I keep thinking I need to do, and I do need to do it. The difference is I know from many iterations personally from my N of 1 testing that if I push through when I know I actually do need a break, it causes me to hit a fault level, and then it sets me back where it takes more time to get spun back up than if I had just taken the damn break. So like, for example, there's a lot of stuff I was working on today for the stream and for news and other stuff like that. And I thought about trying to do it last night. I was freaking exhausted last night. So I took some time. I chilled out. I played Half-Life Alyx for, I don't know, hour and a half. That's a fun game too. It's really fun. And then today, I hit it and just got to work on some stuff. I would say the CCNA is fun, Chris, but really only if you're planning on going down that like network engineer route, because you do learn a lot of the basic networking, but you're going to learn that from something like Net Plus as well. The difference is you're going to learn it probably a little bit deeper over on the CCNA side, and you're going to learn how to do it all on Cisco equipment. Which the benefit to that is if you're learning it on the Cisco side, a lot of those skills transfer over. All right. Hey, no worries, man. I got you, boo. Been down that road many times. Gotta clean my glasses. They are absolutely disgusting. We got lots of weird, like random scattered thunder showers here today. And I was one of the things I was doing today is I was cooking a brisket. And when I was doing that, we had this, because of all the lightning and everything, had a little brownout. And thankfully, the brisket was pretty much done. It only needed to get like another 4 or 5 degrees to be perfect, but it was already done. and the power outage had turned off the smoker. And I was like, dang it. Oh, good enough. Yeah. No, dude, that brisket, it doesn't last long, man. In my house, I think that was like I don't know, 12-pound brisket. I'll have that thing knocked out by Thursday. Hey, Frozen. Happy Saturday, man. Oh, you know what? I've completely forgot. I got sidetracked. I was going to start the seed run for HackBot and completely whiffed on it. Oh, yeah. Ooh. Hey, Phelan, what's up, man? Or Fallen. Phelan? I don't know. Phelan kind of sounds cool. What's up, dude? All right. It's almost time. Got my Jocko. Got my chill out. Kids are probably crashed out. They had a busy day. I am trying to find time actually to do like just like a little special spoopy game stream. But I haven't had every night I think I might be able to do it, something comes up. All right, let's kick it off. I mean, we already kind of kicked it off. We came in because Gumby and Chris came in hot in chat and just like, screw your countdown. We're just going to start this thing. Dear Jonko, please sponsor please sponsor Blaise Bits. And no, Cypher, what's up, man? And does it look like I'm pooping, dude? I'm right here, bro. I'm literally right here. All right, let's get... Oh, wait, I gotta get the seed data. Let's get... Oh, or Stinger. There we go. No, shoot. I just closed it. Rip me. Where's Robo Pages? No, it's not Robo Pages I need. It is my agents. Agents, where are you? There we go. Stinger, come back. Stinger, come back. You can blame it all on me. There we go. All right, let's get our seed data. We can start the seed run. And we can get this bad mammy jamma running. Spit. There we go. All right, we'll give this a second to cook. Once it hits the exploitation agent, that's all we need. It'll save us. Did I push it? Actually, you know what? I don't think I did push the code from Wednesday night because I wasn't in that flow. Oops. Let me see. No, because last push was last week. You know what? I'll go ahead and I'll go commit what I've got real fast while it's doing this. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Did I add something to tooling? I did. I added that as a workaround to imports. That's right. Yep. Okay. And I think I changed that over in. Okay, I don't need to commit that. That's nothing. Did I change that in Recon though? Yeah, so what we did is... Yep, change that. Okay. All good. So, bit of a change. We're going to do... let's see. Changing stuff. It happens. Commit and push. Commit anyway. The to-dos are for me. Alright. Let's see. Alright, there you go. Wednesday's code is up and committed. Let's see, what were we doing? Actually, yeah, this is what we were working on, the exploitation agent. We had to figure out logic to pass the execution to the task validator. We need to make the task validator. Let's see. All right, cool. So it's running. Good. I guess I didn't turn the VPN off. It is almost a tradition now, Hats, one that I have to rectify because that was painful. Thankfully, the recovery was really fast for those 2 weeks. But like I said, that was only by the grace of God that I had that power outage at the house and was able to remote into the server and take the snapshot. Otherwise, it would have been way more than 2 weeks worth of code lost. So yeah, we gotta check that. I need to chickadee check myself before I wreck myself. All right, let's see. Exploit validator. We got that. So if I remember right, the exploit validator is just looking at, do we have an initial access exploit? Ooh, let's see. Tool node. I probably could get rid of this tool node here. Maybe. Chicken to China, the Chinese chicken. You grab a drumstick, get your brain start sticking. Damn, I hadn't thought about that song in forever, Chris. Alright, let's see here. Let me go check something real quick. It died early in the exploit chain here, which it should not have done. Where did we die at? What were we running here? Let's see. Exploit step processor out of range. Oh, that's weird. That should not have hitting. That should not have hit an out of bounds on that. That's weird. Huh, weird. Let's see. Are we likely caught up on recovering the home lab? Yeah, dude, actually, we got all the code, at least all the functionality recovered. The code, it's hit or miss because obviously I didn't have it, right? But yeah, the functionality's all back there. It was able to go through and complete the full PHP web shell exploit chain. So now what we're doing is we're trying to finish off the agent, which is right now. What it's doing is the exploit step revisor. You got to remember the dashed lines here. Those are conditional jumps. So when the data leaves this node, it actually goes to a routing function. The routing function says, where do I send this to? And what it does is that routing function just returns the name of the node. So in this case, exploit step processor or exploit agent. Well, right now it's actually hard-coded to just always return the exploit step processor. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take out the return from here to exploit agent. We're going to add in a new node right here called exploit step validator or exploit task validator. Because you got to remember in the tasking queue, what we have is we have tasks, and then if it's an exploit agent, it has a special structure. Because under that task, we'll have an exploit task nested, and then under the exploit task, we'll have all the exploit steps. Man, I really wish the iPad was working. Actually, I've got another computer over here. I'm going to see about putting an Intel Arc GPU in it. Actually, depending on what it's got, I might just be able to stick with it. But anyway, I'm looking at making that into a dedicated streaming system. So what I'll do is I'll run OBS on this computer and actually use it to stream over to the streaming computer. I'll have the camera, the microphone, the stream deck, everything else wired up over on the streaming computer. And then I'll just basically be able to watch it without having to look at everything else. Let's see here. So that's amazing to think this tool can actually recognize this. Recognize which part? Because it's only recognizing what we've told it to do and whatever the language model can kind of infer from whatever data we send it. Oh, I need to go change the route to exploit task validator, but we don't. We do have exploit task validator right here. So let's go do that real quick. So originally, I believe this was exploit agent. Let's come down here to the exploit step router. Where is that? Here we go. Yeah, there it is. So what is that? That's on line 488. So what we want to do is we need to define a new node in this big mamma jamma, and then from the exploit task validators where this guy is supposed to go, Let's come down here. You're not going to exploit agent anymore. Oh, I love how I even put placeholder edge in there. Let's do exploit workflow, and let's add a node. And the node is going to be exploit task validator, and the function is going to be exploit task validator, just like that. Get that out. Boom. Ta-da! Wait, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be like that. There we go. That's better. Let me save this. I want to see if it renders in the graph properly. Except, there's an error here where we need to add another edge from exploit task validator. Hey, think about this. Yeah, actually, this needs to move down. Nesto, what's going on, man? We are just working on a little bit more HackBot, bro. There we go. I need to add one more edge here. Yes, I do. So what we're doing is we're working on the actual workflow diagram right now. So we need to add an edge. We're going to edge a bit. Giggity. It's going to go from the exploit task validator over to, I believe, exploit agent. Actually, this should have a conditional jump to it. Oh god, look at the graph. The graph just went absolutely bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. Let's do this. I don't know, what does it keep throwing a fit about here? Expected all of this stuff, got something else instead. Alright, you know what? F you. It's fine. Oh, so like when you're building something to read the room, interpret what's on the Try Hack Me room, and pivot resources like the external exploit validator. Yeah. So what is supposed to happen here? Okay, this is a much better flow right here. So this should actually kind of come up here, like this. So we've added this new node here. So what should happen? Hey, monkey, what's up, brother? And you know it, baby. So what happens here is, by the way, I know a couple of y'all asked about it. I am looking at how to do like a combined chat on the screen. It'll probably like up here above my head somewhere. Because I know y'all won't be able to see all that stuff. Yeah, but anyway, so what's going to happen here is when the reviser realizes that all this, we're going to add some more logic in here. Actually, check that. We'll add it in the routing function, the one that defines these conditional jumps. And in fact, this needs to be changed too, because this should not necessarily... maybe. I'll think about this, because we have a couple of different paths we might go down. But what should happen here is when we hit the conditional jump, if we go check and see are there any working steps left, or if they're all completed, then we'd pass it up to the exploit validator. The validator will take, let me think. The validator should basically take the initial access exploit, or should I take that back? It should take all the data here, and then, no, that's not right. I got to think about it. Because what we need to do is eventually we need to create the initial access exploit and then append that over to the host. So in the host table here, if we come back and just look in our data, right? So this is one of our hosts we're tracking, 10.201.102.88. We have an initial access exploit here. Right now it's an empty string though. So this is actually where that would live. I'm trying to think how I want to do that though. I'll have to double check it, but anyway, I'm not going to worry about it too much. We're gonna test out this flow a little bit. It'd be nice for a combined chat, but I just when you have time. I thought about working on it today, Monkey. Instead, what I was working on was something over in N8N and having it basically pull down some blogs and then query it over to GPT OSS 20B on my home Olama server, because I'm trying to test out some ways to kind of digest a little bit more of the blogs. Something kind of like a ripoff of Last Week in Security. Why not just use Restream? Because Restream has all sorts of issues, man. So right now the streams are all very stable. I stream to Twitch, YouTube, and Kick, all three from my house. I'm very fortunate that I have a rock solid fiber line here at the house, and so I can stream to all three at the same time. The contention comes in when I'm trying to do a lot of things on this computer and I have OBS contending for resources. Or if, God forbid, this computer shut off and then OBS gets shut off too. So by separating them, I kind of reduce that noise a little bit. Yep, stream it over to Kick too. I thought about adding Rumble into the mix also, just because nobody streams this stuff on Rumble. It's like, it's like virgin territory. Fiber, not just for gut health. That's right. Let's see. There actually should be more than just this one edge. I'm going to leave it for now, though. Because what should there's a couple things that could happen here. If we take a look at this. Let me bring this over. So let's say we run through all the steps in the exploit, right? We run through all the steps, and then the reviser basically says, okay, I think we're done. Yeah, actually, I think we need one more node in here. The validator could do this, but it kind of goes against the design patterns of what I've gotten here so far. We should probably have one more in here, which would be like... I take it back. We can actually do it up here. What we need is we need a node to go through and craft the initial access exploit for what we can do with this, right? And so we'll probably, right now, I think it's just a string defined over in the table. Let me see. Let's see. Where's our host data? Host. Where's the host? There it is. Yeah, so right now the initial access exploit is a string, right? So what we could do with this, I don't know, there's a couple different ways we could approach this, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a string. It could also be a tool call, right? We could say, hey, by the way, this is the tool that you use to go get this. Fault, what's up, man? I think I followed you when we were doing our 2024 pen test at work, and we're doing a 2025 pen test now, so it's been a whole year. I know, man. Dude, it's been crazy. I think I've been, I think February, that'll be the 2-year mark for streaming. Yeah, rocking the green Jocos now, which you can't really see because you can kind of see it because you can see the green screen behind it. Actually, here, this is the better way to show it. Look at that. Transparent can. Question, what would your ideal sponsorship be? Payment or free cans? Yes. And my wife hates when I do that. She asks me an or question. And in English, typically that's an exclusive or. It's one or the other, but not both. But I always interpret it as a mathematical or. Yes or yes. Bam. Pay me and give me cans. All I need is 2 cases. 2 cases a month. I'm good. All right, let me see here. So let's think about the state here for a second. So we run through everything. So we get our planner. It makes our steps. We run through the step process. We go through some revisions. And then when do we want to pass this up to the task validator? Actually, so what should probably happen, the way, if we wanted to mimic more of what we've done to keep it consistent with the other agents, this probably shouldn't be task validator. What this should be is the initial access payload crafter. Actually, I think that's the better way to do this, is what we'll do is we'll have this be Yeah, we'll call this maybe the payload crafter or something. And what this node right here can do is it can look at the data, create a reproducible code snippet that says, okay, here's what we can do, and then test it, make sure it's functionable, append it over to the host table, and then pass it up to the exploitation agent. I think that would be the smarter way to do this. Hey, Noiby, what's up, brother? Happy Saturday. Also, what flavor? Because I'm going to contact them to encourage sponsoring you. I usually stick to... So they call this one... This is Lemon Lime. They used to have Sour Apple Sniper. That one was one of my favorites. I don't know if they even still have that one anymore. Jocko, let's see, Sour Apple Sniper. Let's see, what flavors do they even have up here? Now they just have Sour Apple, right? They took Sour Apple Sniper off. But usually that one, and see, what bugs me is they took off Sour Apple Sniper, but they left Afterburner Orange. It's like, really? You're going to leave that one as Afterburner? They also used to have the Dak Savage in here, which was Cherry Vanilla. I missed those. I missed the cool names for the cans. But those are usually the ones I stick to. Either Lemon Lime, Sour Apple, or Afterburner Orange. Those are my three tops right there. Working on ServiceNow and Microsoft Config Man. Bro. F. Those are rough, man. If I could choose one, what would it be? Probably the Afterburner Orange. That one is the superior flavor. Sour Apple Sniper was really good, though. Now, why does the exploit tool node just go to end? I think I need to delete that out. The exploit tool node, I don't think is necessary. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take that sucker out. Let me see. Is there a scenario where I'm going to need that? I'm trying to think. No, I really don't think so. Yeah, I'm going to comment it out for now. And I'm going to say that. Commenting out for now might pull it back in. If don't, delete. Shut up, baby. I know it. There we go. And then what I'm going to do here is this tool node is going to go bye-bye. Let's see if I cause any issues by taking that out. Don't think so. Hey, Euler, what's up, man? All right. There we go. So funny when it crams that sucker up there. Probably also what we can do is, so from the exploit task validator, we're going to rename this. Because like I said, I think what we're going to do is... Yeah, we're going to rename that. Instead of the task validator, we're going to call this the... we're going to call it the payload crafter. I like that term. Payload crafter. So let's come up here. Let's see. Yeah, let's figure that sucker out. We're going to call this our payload crafter. Payload crafter. Just like that. Boop. I'm asking so I can think about how to inspire them for what it's for. Dude, it does put me into afterburner mode. I love these things. And like I said, the main thing I like about them, right? So I start the stream at 8 o'clock Central. And then I end the stream at 11 p.m. because I have little kids and they wake me up very early. I usually have no problem going to sleep by 12, drinking this at 8 o'clock, right? Now, keep in mind, I'm also a fast caffeine metabolizer. Having coffee at like 5 or 6 o'clock at night and then going to bed on time, not an issue. If my wife did that, she'd be up till 3 a.m. Caffeine hits her like a Mack truck. It hits me like a pellet gun. Let's see. So test the IAE, verify it works. Yeah, Payload Crafter is going to be a lot better. All right, Chris. What's funny is, so hey guys, by the way, I posted it up on the Zitters, and I posted it over in Discord. But the language model blog post, a gentle crash course to large language models, did go live, and it was so funny because our social media manager was like, "Hey, you got some really positive feedback," and I look, and it's one of my really good buddies, and he was in there just hyping the crap out of it. Alpha Victor Charlie, thank you for coming online, sir. Hope you're having a fantastic Saturday. I am. And so I told her about that. I was like, yeah, that's my boy. Funny enough, Chris, his name is also Chris. And I was like, he's my hype man. One of my hype men. He's always like super positive and like pumping people up. All right, so we still need to do this. Try checking the last step is validated. Yeah, we can try that. Yeah, boy. Here comes $1 million sponsorship. No way. Not a chance. I mean, and I think about this too, right? It's like, if I was going to be sponsored, who would I want to be sponsored by? There's not many. Like, I don't want to do VPN sponsorships. I don't want to do any of those other craps. Really, it's like Jocko. That would be an awesome sponsorship because I drink it every time on stream for free. Royal, this program I'm using right here, Royal TS. I love this program. If they wanted to sponsor me, that would be sweet. And I couldn't really think of too many others because I was like, I wouldn't want to be sponsored by anybody that's stuff I'm not using like on a daily basis. Raid Shadow Legends. No, God no. So Alpha, what we're working on is a AI hacking bot to play Try Hack Me and Hackbox. So it's a CTF playing hacking bot. And here, I'll give you the elevator tour. Check this out. So what we have right here is a very weirdly drawn graph. Pay no attention to those; they're not important. Yeah. But what we've got so far is we have Stinger here, who's our supervisor. The supervisor's very dumb, as is tradition. Eventually, we're going to come back around to him to do things. But what happens here is our user kind of sends some input and says, "Hey, by the way, here's our target. Here's some basic information about it. Go forth and hack." So what we do is we take that input. Right now, we just bootstrap this whole process. Eventually, though, we'll give it like very little. Stinger will come in and say, okay, what do I need to do? It will create a task of like, hey, let's go find open ports. Let's look for web servers, anything like that. And it will come through and pass those down to the recon or the enumeration or the exploitation agent as it kind of flows through the path here. And then right now, what we're actually working on is, I tell you about, there's a fourth agent missing over here, which is our post-exploitation agent. That one we're getting ready to start. Janus Jordan, what's up, brother? All right, so then, yeah, so right now the recon and the enumeration agent are actually very similar. All the code is super rough. It is up on GitHub. On the BlaiseBits Hack the Bot GitHub. Eventually, I'm going to archive that and move it to a proper repo. But that's just a repo for doing dev work on right now. But the exploitation agent is what we're working on currently. And it was finally able to kind of go through these steps and plan out how to do the exploit. We told it what to do. We said, hey, go exploit a web shell to get command execution. It went through, it devised its own set of steps, its own error correction, and got a successful exploit. We hadn't gotten that far before. So now we're trying to finish the loop. So we're looking at it like, okay, what do we need to track for the successful exploitation and get everything prepared for handing it to the post-exploitation agent? Because the post-exploitation job is to take the initial access exploit, which only has to run one command at a time, that's it, and then upgrade that to a C2 connection. So we've got some prep work before we can start on the post-ex agent, because we've got to finish off the exploitation agent. P44, what's up, buddy? I'm glad you liked that one. Yes, the supervisor right now is very dumb. Eventually, we're going to put some logic into the supervisor. Stinger. All right. Did this not update? Oh, you know what? I don't think I updated the look and feel of it here. Hang on. We need to actually go change the nodes. Okay, so this should not be exploit task validator. This should be exploit payload crafter. And then same thing over here. Like that. Boom. I'm not even pooping, Gumby. I'm sitting right here, bro. You guys think I have like a porcelain chair that I just sit in? Alright, why didn't that update? That should have... Oh, God, what did I just do? Save. Save. Alright, I got some kind of error in here. It doesn't like it. Exploit step revisor node. Exploit step router branch from unknown target. Oh, yeah. I got to change this in one more spot here. This needs to get changed also. Eventually, once all the primary agents are done, recon, enumeration, exploitation, and post-ex, and stinger are all functional, then what we're going to do is go back and do a whole bunch of code cleanup and clean it up, because I'm learning Python as I'm building this. Modifying hacking code, yeah, did that. I've been doing that for 7 years, but actually going through and building stuff from scratch, not a lot of experience with. So this is an example of me doing it. Dante, what's up, brother? All right, where's our... There it is. There's our payload crafter. Boom. Excellent. Let me look at something in the exploit task structure real quick. Maybe there's something in how we define that we can either modify or we can abuse. Let's see. Where's our exploit task? So what we have is we have a task string, status verdict. So what we could actually do is we could expand this class here, and we could call it the maybe initial access. We could actually just copy it from the host, actually. Let's do that. Yep, we'll do that. Just like that. So now what we can do is if we think we've got initial access, initial code access, we can take that and then we can append it to the task. If this value is null, perfect. Because what we can do then is we can say, okay, if it's not null, we need to route it up to the payload crafter. Because the payload crafter will sit here and it will go, oh, no, that doesn't work. Dang it. No. Because the revisor, what I'm trying to find is I need something for the revisor to key on. Actually, not necessarily for the revisor, for the routing function to say, hey, go send it to the payload crafter. Yeah. Sponsored by Streamer's Dreams, custom streamer toilets. For when you need to go, but chat is on fire. Stream while you stream. Damn, monkey. You got me. What programming languages do you code with usually? Typically, if I'm coding something, it's usually in Python. If I'm modifying code, that's a bit different. So it's very common. I work as I'm a professional penetration tester in Red Team. I'm actually on a Red Team right now. So we're going to be dropping payloads Monday. Tomorrow's Sunday. Monday, we're dropping payloads and getting in there all sneaky, stealthy squirrel-like. So usually if I'm not usually coding in anything. If I am, it's in Python because we're working on HackBot typically. But aside from that, modifying code, yeah, going in and reading it and kind of seeing what it's doing. Talk about C#, C, Java, JavaScript, Java. You name it, pretty much I've had to go in and modify it in some way to either get a tool to work or get an exploit to work. Hey Ernesto, what's up, man? So, yeah, this was an exercise in learning at least one language deeper, and also an excuse to start learning other languages too, because you see this node right here, the exploit special agent. This lets us craft special agents that are basically portable and pluggable. So let's say I make a really cool agent, I want to send it to one of the other guys. They can just take the copy of that code, drop it into their instance of HackBot, and then send it. Hey, Crystal, thanks for coming online. Welcome in, and I hope you're having a stupendous, super Satisfactory? Saturday? I gotta come up with some more S adjectives. All right, let's see here. I still need something here. Yeah, I'm gonna try this to begin with. I'm gonna leave this here. So one of the other things I need to do is, if I'm changing this, I need to go change the exploit task creation method. Hang on one sec. Had to smooth down my mustache. It was going like up into my nose. It was annoying. Because what we've got is, for our exploit task, we actually have a function here. Where is this? Where did we do that at? Maybe it was here? That's our exploit task. Is that the one I'm looking at? Nah. No. It's got to be in the planner here. Oh, let's get our exploit steps. Yeah. Okay, that's not a problem then. That's right, because here's what we did. Just like that. Let me back up through this real quick, because what we should have is... Where did we actually make the exploit task? I gotta remember. That's where we append the exploit task. So here's it. Expand exploit task suggestions. There we go. Let me... what's the jump to? Go to declaration. Control B. There we go. So I need to add one more thing in here, which is, now that I've added this, we're going to add this, and it is just going to be a null string. Like that. Oh, there we go. Except that needs to be a comma. Bam. There we go. So we got our function updated for our tasking. Dude, I really like LangGraph. A lot of people are kind of, poo-pooing on it because they think it abstracts too much away. It's working really well. I cannot guarantee that as the project progresses, we're not going to maybe switch off LangGraph to another system, but LangGraph and LangChain have been working well for what we're doing, for getting data to and from the language models. There's also nothing that says we can't mix and match, right? So we could use LangChain to go make our our language model calls, right? And use some other agentic framework. But the state table's working just fine. Having that state table that we pass around, it's been no thing. It's been no problem whatsoever. Yeah, I think that's a good way to do this. So what I'm thinking here, so for the revisor, once it validates, actually, so in the routing function here, this one, what we'll do is we'll look at the very last step in the exploit task. If the last step is validated, then what we'll do is we'll have the router send it up to the payload crafter. And it will look and see, okay, what do we have here? Can we craft this sucker from it? I don't know how we're going to do that just yet, but we'll figure it out. And then once that's done, we can send it, yeah, we can go ahead and send it up to the exploitation agent. Yeah, I think that'll work. I think so. Probably what we'll need to do, though, is we'll have to have the payload crafter actually run a test in there. So usually what I'm doing is I'm trying to make this as close to one node is one functional group or one language model call. This one's probably going to have multiple, because what we're going to do is we're going to have it craft the payload, send it, and test it. Although I don't know what to do if that fails, though. To think about that. So what can we do if that fails? Let's say the payload crafter fails in this instance, which it shouldn't, because we give it a tool for this. So we've given it tools to get in this case, the PHP shell, and then how to call it, and then how to even get at the initial access payload. Actually, or the initial access exploit. Yeah. I think that's fine, as long as we restrict that down. eventually, over here in Robo Pages, what I'm going to do is I'm going to restructure all of these codes in here. And so we'll keep the YAMLs kind of the same, but we're going to keyword them. So the function names are going to get longer, but they're going to give us the ability to kind of filter them out. Because we already built in the filter function. There's a filter function in the Robo Pages integration where we can say, don't give me every tool, give me one that's just matching certain criteria. And so I think right now it's just matching on the name. But that's fine. We go put like recon or enumeration in the name. Bam. We can call that good. Yes. Yes. I think that will work. Let's see. All right, so we need to work on the routing function and then the exploit payload crafter. So let's go over to our router. Oh, that's the exploit router. That is not the correct one. Let me see. I can take that off because we're done with that. Let me see. There's our step updater, step reviser. I think I can take this code out because it's been working just fine without it. Let's get rid of that. Here we go. Exploit step router. Yes. Yes. So let's see. So we go ahead and grab the current task. Let's see. In fact, I'm going to just take this out right here because we don't need what the current task is. Get rid of that. All right. So there's our task that we're getting. And actually, over in tasking, where was tasking at? Let me go pull up the tasking utility. Let's see. There we go. We can get whatever the current exploit step is. That's the current step, though. Oh, wait, no. I take it back. That's not the right one. I should rename that from get exploit step to create exploit step. Yeah, I'm gonna refactor here. So instead of get, we're gonna call that create. We'll see where that breaks stuff. I'm sure it's gonna break something. Because I don't know if that refactors across the entire code base or just in here. Nah, we'll leave it. We'll see what happens. If it breaks, it breaks. Let's see. So here's our... There we go. Get current exploit task. That's right. We can just pass that sucker in there. Just like that. Boop. So we actually don't even need to get the current task. What we can do is... get exploit current task, and we just pass in the whole state table, and then we let it figure it out. Let's see. Checks the state table for returning the current working exploit task. Yes, that's what we want. So what we'll do is we're just going to check the very last one in this table here. So if we come back over to... Oh, I need to... dang it. I didn't get a good run of it. But you know what? We can actually just look at yesterday's last run. If we look at the state table from that. Collapse all this stuff down, get down to our exploit task. Man, this is just a small example, and the state table is so chunky. But that's because I'm tracking a ton. Okay, so what we'll have to do is so in the output field here, I know this looks funny. That's because this is an exploit. This is an exploit task, actually. Or, sorry, take it back. This is the task right here. So we needed a field to put the exploit task. So actually, in the output is the exploit task right here. So in this output down here, then we have steps. And so the steps are the ones that we're actually working on. So what we want to do is we want to go drill down to... We got the current exploit task. So then we're going to go to... Where that puts us here. So we can pull the steps, and we can just get the last element of the steps array in here. So we do a lot of ordered lists in here. So let's call this we'll call this our last step. And that's going to be our exploit task. Oh, I take that back because this just gives us the integer for it. So what we need to do is, dang it, I shouldn't have deleted that other line. We back that up. Let's back this thing up a wee bit. Let's move that down. No, stop trying to be helpful. Go away. Let's call this our exploit task. And our exploit task is actually going to be an exploit task type. There we go. So we go get the current task and then we go grab the output. It's output. Yeah, output lowercase. Boop. We get that, and then we're just going to grab the first one from there, just like that. So that's our exploit task. And then now what we can do is we can go grab the last step out of there. So our last step, which is going to be an exploit step, that's going to come from our exploit task, and then we're going to grab the steps, and then we're just going to get the last one in there. So that's our last step. I still don't know why it does this. The IDE is so stupid. It's like, hey, we expected an exploit step. Instead, we got an exploit step. Why? Why you do this to me? Anyway. All right, so what we did here is we find the first working exploit task in the current output field. I don't think I need this part though. Yeah, I can take that out because we actually added that code elsewhere. All right, so let's see. We already got our exploit task. I'm just duplicating all my code here, just like that. I gotta remember how I did this in the graph. Let me see. There's so many branches to this. And I wish I could show the iPad while I'm working on it. I'm working on getting that fixed too. So my computer's actually been a lot more stable since I stopped streaming the iPad to it. Let me see here, because we have a couple different options that can happen here. So the revisor can do one of two things. It can either say, yes, we're good, and it can pass execution back over to the step processor. It can say the execution is done successfully, and we're going to pass it back up to the exploit payload crafter. Or we can say execution of the exploit step failed. And we have a couple options here. We can either pass this back up to the exploitation agent to say, hey, we failed. Do we want to try again? Or do we want to pass it back over to the planner so it can say, hey, you need to make a new one? I think, given the flow of everything, we'd actually have to pass it back up to the exploitation agent and basically mark it as failed. Maybe get a cheap webcam pointed at the iPad? Yeah. You're thinking pass it back to the planner, Gumby? Tannis, what's up, brother? Visiting professor. Give you a shout out. Man, it's going pretty good, actually. So now we're on to new problems. We are working on what to do after it actually gets ready to exit the loop. We've been stuck in the loop for so long, I didn't think about this part yet. So let's think about this like step by step. So what happens here is the exploitation agent gets the task, right? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this Primogen style here, right? So what happens is our agent here. There we go. So the agent basically makes the task, right? Task. And then from there, the planner makes the steps. Like this. So now we've got our steps in here, and then we go through the step process. I realized there's a problem missing in here. I don't know where. I got to go back and check the code. Who's making the exploitation task? Because that's actually a wrapper around all the stuff that contains the steps in here. I can't stand doing this in MS Paint. That's why I took the trouble to set up the iPad mirror with so I could use my little fancy pen. And plus, I have my DPI jacked up on this thing, so like it's like tiny movements to make it work. Excalibur, right? Actually, I'll tell you something funny. So, I was working with doing some visuals at work. I was working with Manum, and I talked about this like a stream or two ago, and that's the Python library for drawing like mathematical objects. The same one that 3 Blue 1 Brown uses. He's the guy who made it, hence why he uses it. And I can do some really cool stuff with it. And so I'm actually using it to test out some graphing of Bloodhound data in it, because I thought that'd be really sick for like showing an attack path evolving. So I'm kind of tinkering with that. And as I was going through it, I realized that it's going to take a lot of care and feeding, because a lot of the text is really long, and he's not like expecting that in like a node directed graph kind of way. It was funny though. One of the things that actually was kind of funny though, Tanis, is that because Manum will integrate with LaTeX or LaTeX, there's actually a LaTeX program now running on my computer. And then when I open a PDF, it actually opened in that. And I was like, oh wow, this actually rendered the PDF really well. So now I'm like, oh, this is nice. I didn't even know it would open PDFs. Writing in Paint makes you feel left-handed. It's so bad. I know, right? See, I'm not actually using LaTeX though. They're using LaTeX for like drawing dense mathematical concept, like equations in Manum. And so the LaTeX thing was a part of it, but I don't actually use it. I just thought it was nice that it was beautifully rendering PDFs. What time is it? Okay. So hot in the house. The air conditioner should be kicking on in just a second. All right, let me think about this. So as we go through this here, who actually creates the exploit? The exploit task, right? Because we've got the parent task, which comes from... Actually, I take that back. That doesn't come from exploit agent. I think this is the exploit task right here. Because the task actually gets created by Stinger and passed to the exploit agent. Yes. And we could go look at the code, but I'd rather just validate it over here. So if we look at the state table before it enters the exploitation agent, right? Come here, let's collapse this down. By the way, guys, if you want to learn more about everything Linux, go check out Tanis' stream, HetTanis, because he is like a absolute 99th level graybeard Linux wizard. Yes. So now if we come back here to the step planner, because look right here. Now in output... Oh, wait, we do have it in here. Who made the exploitation agent? Will learning Linux make me a more handsome and aspiring pen tester? Actually, I mean, if you want to know how to break it, you got to know how it works, right? That's why I'm always encouraging people, hey, once you get the idea of where security issues lie and the abuse of intended functionality versus the true functionality of something, I encourage people to take fewer security courses and take more system administration courses. So it's like this weird like circle. You guys ever seen that old 80s movie, Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon? It is a cheesy New York kung fu flick that I absolutely love. I will stop what I'm doing to watch it anytime it comes on TV. And yeah, Monkey knows what's up. So in the movie, he's talking about he's learning kung fu from this Chinese fella in New York, and he's gone like full circle, right? He's gone from like nothing to like he's like gone through all these little levels of dragon in there, and he's reached the level of the last dragon. There's nothing after it, right? It's like that. You start off like system administration. You start learning a little bit more, and then you kind of move into security, and then it comes back around to system administration. It's like this circle. Who's the master? Sure enough, the Shogun of Harlem. People like you thinking they're the last dragon gives Kung Fu a bad name. Damn, love that movie so much. Oh, Tannis, yeah, the fight in the theater. Dude, all the fights, they're so good. Fun fact, so the guy who played Shonuff, the Shogun of Harlem, that was the same actor that was the coach in The New Guy. That movie. Same actor. I couldn't believe it when I realized it. Dude, Taz, I didn't know you had your black belt in BJJ. That's awesome. I still have that school. I still have a tab open from when you told me about that school over here in my neck of the woods. I've still been meaning to go talk to them. I still haven't forgotten. It's still up to remind me. In Sloth BJJ. Now, see, I'm not super familiar with all the various families of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And the Jiu-Jitsu I did was mostly kind of like from Muay Thai Jiu-Jitsu, where it was a lot of stand-up, right? There was some ground game, but for the most part, my ground game was to be annoying as hell, to get them to disengage enough for me to stand back up where I could kick them and punch them in the head where I was really comfortable. That was most of my ground game. My ground game was annoyance and disengagement. Get them standing back up so I can beat them in the head. Yeah, this is the one I've got up right here. This one you told me about, Sloth BJJ Academy. Over in Euless. This is I've got up. Let me close that tab. I don't know what that thing was doing. Let's see. So our steps didn't happen here, but we did do this. Was this our input? So where did the exploit task get created then? Hold on, I know where to... Okay, so we will have to go read the code then. Let's go to the code. We're gonna RTFC this. Tasking, where is it? Create exploit. Where is it? Go. Where does this actually get used? It got used in Stinger? Oh, that's okay. I take it back. That is not the correct one. That's the expand task base get info. Get current exploit task. Where did we make the exploit task though? All right, easy way to find out though. Come over to the exploit task. We just look for the references to this. So we've got references over in, let's see, agents, states, tasking. It's got to be over here. In the exploit step processor? No, that's not it. That ain't it. We're doing it somewhere else. Somewhere in here we're adding... That's in agents. That's actually over in... that's in the browser agent. There's our states. That's wild. Hang on. I know where to find out, though, because if we come over to this latest Stinger run, this run actually worked just fine So if we look at the state table as we pass execution of the exploitation agent, we can find out. So let's back this thing up. So even as we pass it into here, I see it. Because this is the task, this is the exploit task. So where did I sneak that thing in? Jeez. You had to block somebody on Discord who was just talking crap. Dude, so there was a guy who popped into chat, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And I remember, and it stuck out because for the most part, we have a really chill, like, encouraging chat, which I freaking love. And I try to be for you guys too, because I know we're all on the struggle bus, just in different seats, right? But we're all on the same freaking bus. And he came in talking smack, like telling me I suck at Hack the Box. And I was like, who gives a crap? I do this for a living and get paid for it. What do I care if I can't go and, you know, if I don't enjoy doing the free stuff that doesn't earn me any money? What do I care? And I kept waffling on it. It's like, should I have really kicked him out? And yeah, actually I did, because his account was 3 hours old. So yeah, he literally just went and made an account to go talk smack. And I was like, no, I don't want to deal with that. So where did this get made? It must be up in Stinger somewhere. Stinger has to be making this. That's what we can actually kind of like dissect this. So here's Stinger, right? Actually, we can look at the input to the recon agent, because this is the first agent that gets called.
Incoming transmission from the Zero Mechanic. Hi Blaise. I have a very quick question. What is your opinion on Thermal Grizzly thermal paste? I am currently trying to fix my heating on my Alienware laptop and I have their new Doorknob paste being shipped to me currently.
Thermal Grizzly, I'm not familiar with them, but hang on. Thank you for the biddies too, by the way. I know who to ask though. I'll ask him and he'll probably respond real fast and he will give me the verdict. Let's see. Let me message him real quick. Hey man, what's that really killer thermal paste you like? There we go. I will find out for you, Mr. the O Mechanic. The Zero Mechanic. Although I read that at first like the O Mechanic, I was like, man, homeboy's getting busy. My wife hates my sense of humor. Yeah, if they want to troll and they only live under bridges, they need to stay there. That's true, man. Okay, so looking at this, check this out. So the exploitation agent did not, or sorry, so Stinger, when it initialized, did not make this an exploitation agent. So, or didn't make this did not append the exploit task. It made the parent task, but not the exploit task, right? So, it's got to be somewhere in the exploitation agent that this is happening. So let's look at the exploit agent here. But I thought we looked here. Yeah, so here, we've already got it happening. So where did it happen, though? We can just walk back the line. It's annoying because I got to make a lot of clicks to do this, but... Oh, interesting. So, when it... Where's our output here? Aha, I think this is it, maybe.
Incoming transmission from Reach Greasy Young. I think I figured it out.
Oh no. So, it used to be set to 1 bit, and Euler would come in and just drop 1 bit just to hear the sound. And I waited for him. I was doing some work on the stream and I bumped it up to 2 bits. And I waited for him and I saw him come in and like drop his 1 bit. And he's like, what the heck? It's like, haha, I laid a trap for you. You just activated my trap card. Euler's hilarious. He's really funny. So it has to be done in the exploitation agent.
Incoming transmission from the _DB monkey. What's a weird number?
I gotta start getting a queue for those now. They're just gonna keep coming.
Incoming transmission from the Zero Mechanic. I was actually in here earlier in the year asking you about ideas for my capstone project.
Oh, yeah.
I just got off a meeting with my professor and now me and the 3 other seniors are rehauling the backend of our university's CTF competition website. So thank you for all your help.
That's awesome, dude! I remember that now, because you're the only one who's asked about a capstone. That's killer, man.
Incoming transmission from hit_tennis Bitstorm.
Bitstorm! You guys are cracking me up. Okay. I'm glad y'all like the weird little sounds I picked out, because I just picked them because I thought they were funny, like incoming transmission, you know? How did this happen, though? Oh, yes, it has to happen in Stinger. I think so. Shut up, baby, I know it. Good old Bender. Okay, yeah, it has to be happening in the exploitation. No, the Stinger agent. Stinger has to be making that exploitation. Hack the planet! You guys are just going bananas now. So, because look at this. This is the input to the Stinger agent, right? And here, we don't have the exploit task. We have the parent task, but not the exploit task. If we come to the input for the exploit task right here, then we see it. Right there. So yeah, Stinger has to be actually making it. Let me go. I haven't messed with Stinger's code in so long. I didn't think it actually did that. Let me see. So that expands our task basic info to create the task. How's it doing that? Because right now, Stinger is very, very lightweight. You guys started a hype train from bit spam.
Incoming transmission from 13 Obby Mac. All aboard the bit train. Jevon and gang.
All aboard the bit train. Choo-choo. Did Stinger get reset in the rollback and the code loss? No, I don't think so. Stinger was pretty solid. Stinger is so dumb, I don't have to touch it. It just does direct processing. This is helpful, though. I need more Anthropic credits.
Incoming transmission from the _DB monkey. Choo choo.
Choo choo. You guys fucking crack me up. I love y'all. Oh my goodness. So, I forgot what I was saying. Gubby, so to answer your question, Stinger is so dumb, we haven't even had to, like, do anything. Right here. I gotta make that shorter.
Incoming transmission from Reach Chris Young. Not me googling what Anthropic credits are or means.
So, and those are the basically, if you want to go access Claude, you can do it and you can pay like $20 a month or something to go get access to their front end. But then you're dedicated to all their restrictions that they've got because you don't control the system prompt. We can actually control the system prompt and send raw language model requests through the API. However, to do that, they charge you by a certain amount of input and output tokens. And so you have to pay for that. So I started this project with $100 in Anthropic credits, basically. And now we're down to like 40. Yeah. Yeah. So we're using Claude 3.7 on the back end right now. I'm looking forward to updating it to like Claude 4.5, but until I get through the post-exploitation agent and Stinger, we're going to leave it on Claude 3.7. We're going to make it to where it gets at least somewhat consistent behavior across it, right? Tokens and APIs are going to be the hot thing to learn now. Dude, actually, a lot of it gets kind of abstracted out by LangGraph. So, I mean, there's really cool things you can do with the API. I just don't need to. I'm not sending images. Eventually, maybe. But I'm not sending images. I'm not sending anything else like files. We're just sending text. Let's see. Mohammed, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. And I hope everybody's having like just a absolutely super Saturday. Or Sunday, depending on which part of the world you're in. I get a lot of folks from across the date line. Not the date line. Across, like, in the future. I get people from the future visiting the stream. And I think that's very cool. If any of y'all wanted to pass me some winning lottery numbers, that would be killer. Because we can make an awesome home lab then. Ken's like, it's Wednesday where I'm at. What are you talking about? Let's see. Can you say that again? Because my ADHD was acting up. I don't even know what I said because my ADHD is acting up. Yeah, Monkey, we didn't get blasted by the storms that rolled through, but we got some good ones. And it browned out my power at the house and killed the smoker. It didn't kill it. It just turned it off while I was in the middle of cooking that brisket. Thankfully, it was like 99% done. It was done, but it wasn't to like the perfect temperature, which is about 203 degrees Fahrenheit. That's like ideal. And then, but it got to like 199. I was like, okay, close enough. I'm just going to pull it off. I made it what I thought was actually a really hilarious joke over in that large language model blog post because I was explaining some of the stupid things that language models do. And I talked about how they can get distracted. So I said they've got ADHD, attention deficit hyperparameter disorder. I thought it was clever. Talking smokers now, so I'm in the market. What did you get? I got a Oklahoma Joe smoker. Now, if I had it to do over again though, Monkey, I would get an offset smoker. So what's the difference? Let me bring up the Primeagen laser pointer here. So the one that I've got is basically I've got a little hopper for pellets. There's a giant smoker barn here, and the pellets kind of travel down this auger. They go to this little burn cup, and then we get all the smoke in here, right? Not ideal. So instead, what I would rather have is something like an offset, where everything, including like the pellets and the burning, actually takes place here, and it's just smoke that comes over into this other one. That would have been more ideal. I've dealt with a lot of issues with this one, namely fire, and the thing catching on fire. So yeah, if I had to do it over, I would do it this way. I would get one of the offset smokers. $165 is done. You're trying to turn it into jerky. I'm not trying to turn it into jerky. No. I'm trying to get it to where all the connective tissues in the brisket break up. That's what I want. And so when I cook a brisket to like 203, that's like perfect temperature. It is still juicy, and I do it low and slow, right? I try to keep that temperature around between 250 and 300. I'd go lower if I could. I have trouble controlling the temperature on the Oklahoma Joe. It works, don't get me wrong. And it was a good thing for the price that I paid for it, but there's definitely room for improvement on it. Might get the Traeger because it's a bit more popular around here. Yeah, I say the main thing I would look for, Monkey, is that offset style. Where am I writing this to? I don't see the code in the Stinger agent, though, that does this. I wish I could just control F this, but it actually gets broken here. That's literally the only reference we have is we import the exploit graph so we can route to it, and that's it. Yeah, so it cannot be happening in the Stinger agent. It has to be happening in the exploitation agent. All right, let's trace through this again, because I haven't gone through everything in here in a minute. All right, let's see. And in tasking, I'm pretty sure we had like a... Where's our steps in here? Exploit task. Let me try this again. Oh, here we go. So here's expand exploit suggestions. These are our exploit helpers. Okay. All right, so where's this one being used? Let's see. Exploit agent 135. All right, so we make the exploit task, and then there it is. Boom, we append it to the output. Okay. We have a loop in here right now, so let me put a note in here so I don't forget the minute. Let's see. Create exploit task. Let's see. Nest in output for parent task. There we go. That way I won't forget where this thing is. Okay, so it is in the exploit agent that's happening. Good, the world makes sense again. Let's see. Let me go back over to the actual graph real quick here. And let me add an hour to this, so this will last for the rest of the stream. Okay, so we were down there looking in the step revisor. And we were saying if the final exploit, if the final step completes, then we want to pass it to the exploit payload crafter. Yeah. Another thing we want to do, though, is we want to say if this fails, right here. So let's come down here. That's the agent router. That's not what we want. We do actually. What's funny is we deleted the tool node. This could cause a problem. We should take this out. How are we routing that to handoff yet? Oh, there's so much to fix in this. I thought I was closer to being done with the exploit agent, but we were working down here in this loop for so long, I forgot about the rest of it. The rest of it was just kind of bootstrapped in there. I know what's going to happen. Blaise Bits will be making the world a better place, one live stream at a time. Ideally sponsored by Jocko. That's right, Chris. All right, let's see here. I think I can take... double check. So there's our exploit step update, step revisor. So yeah, we need to go down to the revisor router. Actually, I believe it's this one. Is that exploit step router? Can I just comment this out for now? Well, yeah, actually, I know this is the actual function we need to be in because this is the one that forced it to go up to back to exploit step processor instead of going to exploit payload crafter. So let's change this. This will be exploit payload crafter, like that. I'm going to leave this as a to-do. Actually, I'll just take this all out. We don't need that. Let's see here. So we get the task index. We go get the last step. We get our exploit task. What, you need to go outside? Ah. Peaches, you always have the worst timing. Hey guys, give me like 1 sec. I gotta go let Peaches out. I'll be right back. I knew it. I was planning it out as I came back. I was like, I knew I was gonna come back to you. Oh, he's pooping! No! Just had to let Peaches out. I did have to pee though. No, I don't get the caffeine poops. No, I'm a well-seasoned caffeine addict. They don't affect me like that. I know Cypher's like, I didn't even do it this time. There's a timeout on it, Gumby, because I knew you little trolls were gonna just be firing it off like crazy. Letting Peaches out. That's what the kids call it these days, huh? Now, Peaches is my puppy. She's my little pretty peach. Princess Peach. Let's see. Was I even using this thing? I wasn't. Let me just comment that out. Do we want to take our last step? Current step. Exploit step. I do need these though, so we're gonna leave these real fast. So what we're gonna do is let's bootstrap some stuff. So first thing we're gonna do is we're going to check if last step is validated, and then we're gonna route that over to the exploit payload crafter. Boop, just like that. And then let's see. Otherwise, we're going to actually, that's pretty much it. Else, we're going to route that over to the exploit step processor. Perfect. I think that'll work. We'll probably have to come add some more logic here a little bit. So let's do some little checks here. So what we're going to say is we're going to go pull out our last step. And that's an exploit step. So where's our exploit step? Exploit step. There we go. So we're going to do an exploit step. And we're going to just double check that the status is validated. Status equals validated. Then what we're going to do is we're going to return this guy right here. Return this. Nope, undo. And then else, we're just going to bring this guy right up here. Just like that. Boom. There we go. I think that might work. Hold on, gotta let the Peaches out. Ugh. She's such a sweet dog too. She came to me, she was so massively overweight. She looked like she's brown, right? She looked like a little Debbie Swiss roll with just toothpicks for legs. She was chunky. And then it's because the other family spoiled her rotten, literally rotten. She'd be sitting under my desk ripping farts and I'd be like, oh, I'm coming, Elizabeth. They were bad. And now I cleaned up her diet and I feed her good food and she's good. She's happy. She slimmed down. She runs around. She's got so much energy. I'll show y'all Peaches when she comes back in. My wife's going to let her back in a minute. That is not correct though. Status. So if the status is validated, actually we do need to do one more thing. We need to go check if the current step, I set something up here. Hold on. I set up a global value for checking that. What did I say? Max step retries. Okay. Let's come back down here. Because what I need to do is I need to go check the exploit step. Because then we're going to actually return something different. So if that step fails, let's put it down here. So what did I call that? Max step retries. There we go. All right, there's Peaches. No, it's okay. They want to see Peaches because they don't believe that I was actually letting her out and think I was pooping. Oh, your paws are dirty? Go out there. Yeah. Oh, go. Go, Peaches. She got mud on her paws. Hang on. Sock's gonna go clean up her paws real fast. She's probably in the back, because we did get some rain. She was probably in the backyard digging in the dirt. Let's see. Actually, we're gonna assume the exploit task failed. Assume exploit task failed. All right. So what we need to look at is if we're gonna assume the exploit task has failed. Then I think what we need to do is maybe pass this back up to the exploitation agent. Ooh, yeah.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby. I had a question and I just forgot it.
I hate when that happens. I'll go in the kitchen to go ask Sock something, or wherever she is in the house, and I'll be like, it's like, hey, I got a question. She's like, what is it? I don't know. Give me a minute. And then it's usually gone. That's usually why I don't leave the room. I just text her from the other room like a true lazy millennial. All right. So if this fails, I'm guessing what we need to do is actually, let me check at the revisor, because I think the revisor actually had the logic for max retry steps here. Did we? Let me see. Yeah, there it is. There we go. So we say if this failed, they're going to set that status to failed. Okay. So that's actually where we're checking it. So what we do is we need to check if the step is failed. We don't have to do the max retry step. So what we can do is for the step router, we'll just say if the current exploit step. If current step is failed, then what we'll do is we're just going to assume the exploit task failed. Just like that. Boom. Is the code up on GitHub? Yeah, man. It's up on the Blaise GitHub. The working title for it was originally Hack the Bot, because I thought it was funny. But in actuality, I'm going to change the name. This is just the repo until I get it to a somewhat presentable form. Then we're going to archive this. We'll spin it up in a brand new repo that doesn't have like a bajillion comments on it. And we'll just that way we'll have a more clean initial commit. And I actually won't be just deving in main anymore. Let's see. Yeah, actually, I think what we'll do is we'll move this down. Yeah, we'll do this. Take these out. So we'll make this one more here. So what we'll do is we'll say if current step. Yeah, so if current step status equals failed, then what we'll do is we're going to return, I think, exploit agent. I think that was the one. Yeah, exploit agent. That might not be the right path to send that down, but I'm going to leave it for now. So if it's failed, we're going to send it to the exploit agent, and then we're going to do else. If the status is validated, then we're going to send it to the payload crafter, and if nothing else, we're going to default to send it to the step processor. Yeah. The file that I'm in the exploit agent. So if you come over to agents and you look at exploit agent. So the agents is the primary agents. So we've got all the ones in here. PostX, there's nothing in it yet. And then Stinger is going to be the supervisor. So that's where they're all at. I don't know if I even need this init pie. I'm going to delete it.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby. Can I fork you?
You can fork me all you want, big boy. Yeah, dude, if I didn't want it forked, I wouldn't put it up on GitHub. Go ahead, man. Have a blast with it. I don't know why I put this initpy in here. I'm just gonna delete that. Where's that? Delete. Yeah, I don't need that. Same thing down in utils. I think did I put one in utils? I did. Don't need that. How do I do that? Well, I prefer gently. What's this? Let's see. Hey, that's good. Are you talking about, do you actually not know how to fork on GitHub? Because if so, I'll show you how to do it. I think that'll work. Let's go do an exploit run. Let's see what happens here. Except, you know what, we haven't done anything with the exploit payload crafter. You don't? Okay. So forking on GitHub is actually really easy. What you do is you come over to the repository. There's a fork button right there. You just hit fork, and then it'll ask you, like, what do you want to name the code over in your GitHub account? And then you're going to be forking it from this commit, right? So I can keep pushing code, and you can start pushing code. If you have a change that then you want to bring back over, what you do is it'll give you the option to, like, make a pull request, and then you can send that code over to me on the BlaiseBits fork here and say, hey, this is what I want to do. How do I send it back to you? Do I have any? I don't think I have any active forks where I did that. Yeah. But what you can do is you can go to, crap, I forget where it is. But yeah, there'll be a way for you to submit a pull request back over to the BlaiseBits like master branch here, boom, where you can send it. Let's see. I think that's good, except we need to go through the payload crafter. There we go. All right, so for the payload crafter, what we want to do is, what did I call that over in PHP? Let me see. I'm going to change this. I'm going to rename this a little bit. I'm going to call it IAE. Nah, actually, I'm going to leave it like this because you got to remember, everything that goes into the language model, it all gets converted into tokens, and those tokens get converted up into a vector space, and then that vector space is used to, like, handle where it pays attention to. So I could call this IAE. However, I have not called this IAE anywhere else. We've used the term initial access exploit. So we've got that over here, right? You can just see it right above my little head right there. So we're using this term as a way to, like, try to tie everything together. So what we can do is we can take this and leave it like that. And then what we can also do is we could actually go, we could send this, basically we're going to send all the context, all the steps done and how everything worked. We're going to send that over to the payload crafter, but also we're going to filter down the tools that it has. So instead of sending it all of the RoboPages tools, we're going to say, by the way, just give us a filtered tool set that has the keywords initial access payload or initial access exploit right here. So let's do that part first. Let me close this up. Let's see. I'm going to call this RB IAE. And it's going to be RB underscore, let's see. Yeah, filter tools. I believe that's the one that I want. Let's see. Retrieve a set of tools with the filter string in the name, fetching and creating tools if needed. Okay, cool. So what we can do is we're going to filter all the tools that say initial access exploit right here. Boom. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create our language model with our tool calls. So I remember how to do that. I haven't had to make a new language model call in forever. What was the code I did for that? This is usually what we're doing right here. But this is if we're going to be binding it with tools. Yeah, we could do that. So instead of binding this to exploit step status, what we're going to do is we're going to bind it like this. Oh, we're going to need to make a, I take that back. We need to actually do some more stuff right here. So our LLM, we need to make a prompt for this. We don't have any prompts for payload crafting. I tell you what, let's bootstrap this first and then we'll go make the prompt. Where we do this? Yep, right here. Just like that. Boop. There's our prompts. Yeah, here we go. So let me just copy this little bit of code down here. There you go. So we're going to have to go through and clean this up just a wee bit. So this is not going to be our step status template. This is going to be our payload crafter template. And then our actual prompt. Change this to our prompt, just like that. That I got to spell it correctly. And then what we need to do is go actually create this right here. So this is going to be take that back. Let me change this a little bit. That's going to be our get command there. Change that. Change that. Yeah, just like that. So this is kind of working, but we need to go actually make the prompt, the template over here. And then this is going to have to change also because it's going to depend on whatever inputs we're going to send to it. So let's go do that real quick. Let's pull up our prompts real fast. Let's see. Let's copy this one for now. Yeah, I know you're not happy about it, but that's fine. It's because what we're going to do is let's expand this out. So we got to go make ourselves a new system template. I love how I started this. You are a world-class best, the world-class best cybersecurity exploit crafter. Let's see. Yep, because what we're going to do is we're going to take all this stuff out. I can type. There we go. Let's see. So what we're going to pass into it, let's think about the context, because we're going to have to go prepare all the context for it. And that's probably one of the things I'm going to do once we get to the code rewrite is we're probably going to have a new utility in there called like context probe. Actually, didn't I already make one? I made a context helper, didn't I? We did context helpers, yes. And in context helpers, we built an exploit task context. Nice. Thanks, Past Me. Awesome. Cesarius, what's up, man? Dude, we're building an AI hacking bot to go play hacking challenges, capture the flags. So stuff like Hack the Box and Try Hack Me. And having a good time with it. We're just about done with the exploitation agent. So this agent's job here is to basically take what we've determined as something that might be vulnerable and go through and try to exploit it. So this is actually the entire graph right here. Oh, that thing's ugly. I don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, this is where it starts off at. So this is our supervisor, and it's got 3 subgraphs they can call. basically we're calling these our supervisor agent. These are our primary agent. So we've got recon, enumeration. We're working on the exploitation one right now. And then once that one is solid, we're going to move on to post exploitation. So we'll have another one here that's job is to take the exploit that got crafted by our exploitation agent and then upgrade it to a C2 connection. And then that one will handle all the interactions with that host afterwards, basically. So that one's going to be a chonky boy. This one was relatively easy. This one was basically a clone of this one, just with some different tooling. And then our exploit agent was completely different, and our post-exploitation agent is going to be completely different. It's going to take quite a bit of planning. Cody, the guy who wrote Mythic C2, he's going to come back up on the stream, and we're going to kind of work through this and think about it. He's going to give me some ideas. He's also going to be answering questions, because I know a lot of y'all have been playing with and testing Mythic, so he'll be more than happy to answer questions. He's such a cool guy. He's actually at a conference right now, so I'm trying not to bug him. Let's see. So what we're working on right now, currently, Cesarius, is the exploit payload crafter. So what it does is the exploitation agent gets told, hey, I think you can, Stinger will tell him, hey, I think I want you to perform this kind of exploit. The exploitation agent says, okay, let me go kind of work on that. And so it comes down here to the exploit step planner. It plans out all the steps that it's going to need to perform that exploit. It goes through this loop of testing and revising if it runs into roadblocks. And then once it's done, then it'll either bail out, which I haven't put it in yet, but it can bail out back to the exploitation agent saying, hey, our exploit steps failed, the task is no good. Or it can come back over to the payload crafter, which actually crafts the initial access exploit. So that's a keyword we're using in here that says, this is what you can do to get single command execution on the host. And then once that's done, that's the main thing that's going to get passed over to the post-ex agent and says, hey, here's your initial access exploit, upgrade that to a C2 connection. And since this is PHP, we're going to start with the Arachne agent over on Mythic. So Arachne is specially purpose-built for doing web shells. So we're working on this payload crafter right now. So how do we want to tell this thing? We want to tell it to examine all the data, basically. Let me think about this. So, you are the world's best cybersecurity exploit crafter. That's what we told it. We're gonna tell. Let's start like just at least spitballing this right here. So examine the context, information. Ever been to DEF CON? A handful of times, yeah. I went in, let's see. I went to the first one I went to was in 2010. That's when I actually really started working in like IT. I've been breaking computers since the second grade in various ways, physically and, logically. And then, so I went to my first one in 2010. That was a blast, but then I got really busy with school. I didn't go again until I think 2018. So I went in 2018 and 2019. 2020 was a bust. I think I didn't go back again until 2023. And that's because I was teaching a course at Black Hat. And so I went and I stayed through the training session for Black Hat, and then DEF CON, because they all run back to back. So I had to fly into Vegas like on a Friday to teach class Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And then I had Wednesday for actually attending Black Hat. And then Thursday was basically DEF CON started. So I flew in on a Friday. I didn't fly out till the next Sunday. That's just way too long in Vegas, man. I only got to programming in my 30s, and I've never gone down this side of things. Dude, it's a lot of fun, man. And so really I've been a professional penetration tester for 7 years, and I've been in IT for 15 years. So, and I've been, like I said, breaking computers since the second grade and just doing all sorts of hood ratty stuff with them on the old dial-up systems, right? But I didn't start making it like a career until about 2010. ish. Maybe 2009, you could argue, but 2010 is typically where I count it. And then at that point, I just been messing with stuff, learning things, breaking things, and it's been no end to it. I like it. I enjoy it a lot. Penetration tester sounds like something cool. It is, man. I think it is. It fits my personality. And I always tell people, because they think that red team is really sexy. It can be, right? I like to use the old football analogy where offense gets the glory, but defense really wins the game. So working in cybersecurity, everybody always thinks sometimes about either red or blue, but you do have both sides, and you should examine both sides. The challenges that come from the blue side might be more apt to your personality, your demeanor, everything else. The challenges that come on the red side might be more appropriate for you, or you might hate them, because it does have a lot of challenges. I just spent on Friday 5 hours troubleshooting why my C2 was not getting a connection back, and then we realized that there was an oddity in how we had to design it for this client, the entire infrastructure. And we were just blocking 443. Typically, during our normal deployment, we would open it up. But this was a weird special case. And I was brain fried after that. I was working so hard on that for, like I said, 5 hours solid, from like 8 o'clock in the morning until 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And I was cooked. Oh, it was I hated that. Once we figured out what was happening, it was just a freaking NFT tables entry that didn't get put in. Oh, such a beatdown. Let's see. You are the world's best exploit crafter. Let's see. Let's put another. So your job is to create an initial access exploit. And what we need to do is we need to actually tell it, like, what's the... Why are you doing this? There we go. I don't know why it was so off like that. Let's see. How did we define initial access exploit? A pen tester walks into a bar and orders a beer. 0 beers. 9 beers. A lizard. -1 beers. And a drop table's patrons. Pretty much. Yeah, Cesaris, exactly. It's exactly like that. It's like, why isn't this working? Everything should work. And the way it was happening is because we were bouncing it through a cloud service. And so what I did is I got a cloud shell, and I was testing the connectivity back, and that's finally what allowed us to pinpoint the issue. So it sucked, don't get me wrong, but there's always a good thing that comes from those, like, really beat down learning experiences. And the fact is, it's a beat down, so you're not going to forget it. You're going to remember it because it was a beat down. Old drunky tables, we call them. Right. Let's see. Yeah. So your job is to create initial access exploit for the target based on... Let's back this thing up. Based on the context information. Yes, let's say that. Let's see. The initial access exploit should be a single let's say it's a repeatable command. Yeah, we'll say the initial access exploit should be a repeatable command that executes at least one system command. And I'm sure we're going to come up with some weird edge cases here. I usually keep the prompts pretty chill, and I don't try to over-engineer them in the beginning. And as issues come up, then we go tighten the prompts. So we do a lot of feedback with it. A pen tester walks into a bar. He doesn't order anything. He just keeps jiggling all the door handles. That's right. I tell folks, like, when they wonder what I do, for the most part, I typically don't even tell them. They ask what I do. I say I'm an IT consultant. I'm like, what do you do? I was like, people hire my company and they send me in, and I look at their systems and I tell them where things are messed up and give them some guidelines on how to fix it. And that usually is like the end of the conversation. If I get to know them better and I know they're not going to ask stupid questions or say stupid things, I'll tell them what I really do. And I'll say, yeah, I'm basically a paid hacker, right? Well, from that point on, they always usually have some more questions. And I say, it's not any different from what you would do if you locked yourself out of your house, right? If you lock yourself out of your house, you become a penetration tester because you know all the faults and all the maybe unlocked windows in your house, and you're going to start testing all of them so you can get back in your house and go get your keys, right? It's the same thing. Oh, you do the hacking? That's right. That's right. Although I was really happy to hear Tannis. I was watching his stream one time. We were talking about sorry, that's my alarm. He was talking about that hacking really isn't an activity, it's a mindset. And I believe that is absolutely 100% true. So it's a way of looking at things, wondering, hey, what could I do? I wonder really is like the phrase of hacking. It's like, hey, what if? I wonder if. I locked myself out once and got back in with a hammer. I know, most people keep like a spare key buried in their yard. I just keep a spare set of lockpicks. Oh, let's see. I think that works. So the initial access exploit should be a repeatable, let's see. We'll say, instead of must, we'll say must be a repeatable command that executes at least one system command. Yeah, we'll say. Hey, Zen Logic, what's up, man? Dude, yeah, we're LangGraphing it up in here, man. I like LangGraph. It gets a lot of crap for certain stuff. People think it's too bloated or it abstracts too much away. I like it. It's working well for what we're doing in here. After watching the lockpicking lore, I just assume locks are for the polite burglars. Yeah, right. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else I can tell this in here. I don't want to throw too much into this. So your job is to create an initial access exploit for the target based on the context information. I'm going to change that a little bit. Because believe it or not, how you word this is important, because the way the attention heads function in these things, they look at those word relationships as it's going through here. Hey, Happy, what's up, man? Let's see. Would you find HackBot pretty realistic related to your experience? Obviously not entirely in regards to full networks, but methodology. Methodology, yes. So one of the things that I don't like about CTFs is they can put you into a loop where you compromise the system, you root a system. You compromise the system, you root a system. Bam, 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 bam. There's a lot of times I don't have to even do that whenever I'm doing a penetration test and I'm pivoting two systems. And a lot of times I'm not actually exploiting that system. I'm exploiting something like Active Directory or Active Directory certificates or credential material, things like that, or maybe even Azure or AWS. I've got a target system I'm trying to get to. So one of the really hard things about CTFs is you're working on a single system, right? So you can get this really bad tunnel vision as you're looking at something. Yeah. Now, one of the things I do like about CTFs is because people make them, you can find out really interesting esoteric pieces of technology and how to break them. I think that's really cool. So you can get some really good ideas from it. I don't personally enjoy it because I do it for a living. So I don't feel like going and doing my day job and then doing the Sudoku version of my day job for fun. It's not that fun to me. I'd rather go through and do other things. So like, for example, I don't really care for doing Hack the Box or Try Hack Me. Occasionally I'll go fire one up for fun on stream if I'm just feeling like a wild hair's in my booty. But for the most part, I like the idea of making something to go play it for me though, because it's related, but it's different, right? So I'll tell you what, guys, I do need to go check on Peaches and I gotta take care of something. One sec, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Guess who's back? Back again. Blaise is back. Tell a friend. Hey, Hepu, no problem, man. Dude, when I put Q&A in the title, I mean it. Just ask questions, man. Everybody who's been watching for a while, they'll tell you that I have no problem just completely derailing what I'm doing to go look at something or answer questions. There's a lot of people with them and not a lot of people to answer them, so. Need to have a session counter for the stream for the poop counter. Ha! Monkey. Let's see. So the thing about the CTF is, you know that there's a way in if you persist long enough. In the real world, though, you don't know if you could do it or just be wasting time. That's actually a really good point too, Ken. That's a perfect example, because you don't know if you're just spinning your wheels. Let's see. Which group is usually responsible for the social hacking? What do you mean, Monkey? Actually, I do want to tell it something new. Oh, so not looking for logical entries, but doing phishing or training. It just depends. Typically, that would be like a blue team side thing. Hey, Cesarius, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. And once again, I hope everybody's having just an absolutely amazing Saturday. I almost said Sunday. My days are off. I ask as we get regular training emails. It depends. Typically, that's going to fall on internal security teams, and usually I'm going to say the blue team is probably doing that. It could be like your sysadmins or your GRC folks. Typically not your GRC folks. If it's something like Know Before, where it's like, you know, phishing training, like out of the box, right? Phishing awareness. That's probably actually being run by your sysadmins. It is technically Sunday there now. I know, man. I get so many folks that are like across the Atlantic from me. I think it's great. Well, actually, across the Pacific too. It's weird. I get everywhere. It's great. It makes me happy. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else I want to tell it here. Let's see. What did I do? Oh, I'm in the wrong window. I was like, why is my thing not typing? Let me see here. There we go. All right, there. Tool calls may be provided to generate this. To generate the. Oh God, what'd I do? We'll see. There we go. Let me copy this. I'm tired of typing. There we go. Let's see. So tool calls may be provided to generate the initial access exploit. Otherwise, you will need to. Actually, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it like that. They may be provided. I'm not across the Atlantic, maybe across the border. Oh, that's true. Because, I mean, depending on what time zone you're in Canada, because the furthest you're going to get in the U.S., I don't know. Let's see. I don't think Florida time zones. Let's see. Yeah, so all of Florida's on Eastern time, so I think some of Canada might actually be 1 hour further than Eastern U.S. time. I'm across both those oceans, depending on which direction you go. That's right. That's thinking with portals, Ken. Don't forget Guam. How could I forget it? I don't even know where Guam is. Geography is not one of my strong suits. Some of Canada is an hour and a half ahead of Eastern time. Man, I knew Canada stuck out there pretty far. Actually, I've been really wanting to go up to Newfoundland because I have some very, very distant relatives up in Newfoundland. It's been on my to-do list for the last 20 years. I'll get to it eventually. That's funny, you're talking about Googling Newfoundland time, yeah. Newfoundland time. What time is it there? Oh yeah, it's 12:41 in Newfoundland. I didn't realize it was that far off to the east. I had to think about this one for a second. Yeah, I think I can take all this out. I think I can just put context in here and here, and this is just going to be small context, and then take the rest of this out. I think that will give us everything we need for the initial access exploit. Let's see. Oh, I need to change the name of it. This is not the correct name. There we go. Oh. What are you doing? Stop being helpful, IDE. There we go. There we go. I think that'll be good. Oh, because it's so much closer to the pole, it doesn't look like it's that far. I have only one thing to say to that. Sorry. Giggity. Does a math degree make you a better coder? I think it can help, but I don't think it necessarily makes you a better coder. Yeah. So Bandulas, I would think that you have a better idea of thinking in abstractions, but also mathematicians tend to think in very precise terms, and then to back that out for coding gets to be a bit troublesome sometimes. So it's going to depend on the person. And in fact, I'd say that's probably true of anything. Coding, it's going to depend on the person a lot. I think it would give you a leg up, but I know plenty of math people that can't code. I know plenty of coders that don't understand math that are very good at it. So I'd say it's probably just going to come out in the wash. Maybe if you're programming Doom. For anybody who doesn't know what Monkey there was talking about, if y'all are familiar with this, let's see. Doom. What was that function called? No, it wasn't Doom. It was Quake, if I remember right. What was that? Let me see if I can find it real quick. There he goes. Yeah, the fast inverse square root from Quake. Yeah. This was actually pretty sick. So when Quake's source code got released, there was this guy right here. It's a heck of a read. Yeah, I'm going to drop it in chat for everybody if you want to read on it. It had this really weird system here. So it was referred to as the fast inverse square root. And it had a constant, this weird hexadecimal constant in here. And there's actually a really good explanation breaking down of where they did this and how they were able to do it. And so people were like, well, that's dumb. Why didn't you just use the square root function? Because it was slow. So doing this fast inverse square root and doing some weird tricks and sacrificing at just a tiny bit of precision, it was able to do it so much faster. That's how they got the bullet drop off in Quake, is by creating this fast inverse square root. That's funny. I knew you were going with that though, Monkey. Yeah. I was thinking Doom. I was like, wait, I had to think about it. God, I remember the first Quake game. That was so much fun. I think I was playing that on dial-up. Quake 3 Arena was the tits back in the day. I still play Champions, but it's not the same. I know, right, man? Oh. So I really liked Call of Duty back in the day. So like 2012 Modern Warfare 2, the actual Modern Warfare 2, not Modern Warfare Part 2 they came out with recently, or a couple years ago. That was such a fun game, and the lobbies were absolutely insane. And so I really liked that one. But then because of that, I actually threw some shade at Call of Duty in that language model one. I put some really funny references in there. That gentle crash course to large language models. I put some shade in there for them. Hey, Pancake Engineer. Thanks for coming online, brother. Welcome in. All right, we need to import the prompt. There we go. All right, so we need to take this stuff out. Let's take out the step task. Actually, should I include the task here? Actually, yeah, I think that should be included in here. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and include the task. I think that'll help it understand a little bit more of what's going on. And this will just be our task value. And then we're going to close our faux XML. Yeah, I think that'll be good. So yeah, we'll go ahead and include the task, but we're going to change this to our context. Oh, if we're going to do this, I got to go get the step task information out of the payload crafter, but that's not a big deal. This is going to... Actually, we're going to need it for the context info anyway. I was a Blops 2 fan. Don't try Arma. I actually really wanted to like Arma. I just never could get it to run well on my system. I got tired of tweaking it. Same reason why I stopped playing. I used to play PlanetSide 2 quite a lot. PlanetSide 2 was really legit. Bender Luist, thanks for coming online. I hope I said that right. But yeah, PlanetSide 2, really fun game. Really annoying to go and optimize because the game engine's not optimized at all. So there's a ton of tweaks that you have to apply to get good performance out of it. And I lost my PlanetSide 2 settings one time, and that was the final nail in the coffin. I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm not playing PlanetSide 2 anymore. What are we making? We're making an AI hacking bot to go play Try Hack Me and Hack the Box, Capture the Flag games. So currently what we're doing here is we're working on an exploit agent. And so this exploitation agent will come down and it'll be given a task saying, hey, for the example we're using during testing is go exploit this target and get a web shell on it. So the exploitation agent says, okay, cool. Passes it down to the planner. Planner kind of plans out the steps, and then it goes through this loop of like testing and revising the plan of those steps to get an initial access exploit. So once it actually completes the exploit chain, it's going to take all that data and pass it up to the payload crafter to make the initial access exploit. And then we're going to take that and we're going to store it with the target. So after we compromise the target, we're going to say, okay, here's the initial access exploit. You can use this to go execute one or more system commands on the computer. And then after that point, we're going to start working on the post-exploitation agent. And that one's job is to take that exploit command and then upgrade it to a full C2 connection. That one's going to be chunky. That's going to be a chunky agent. In fact, as I think about it, I might actually split that into another one. We may have one more primary agent. Right now, these are the primary agents: recon, enumeration, and exploit. There's going to be a post-exploitation one in here. I'm thinking about maybe we'll add another one, but I don't know what to call it. I don't know what to call it in here. Ooh. Actually, there's two ways we could do this. We could do a post-exploitation agent here, and then make all the interactions with Mythic a special agent. So we could pass execution down to Mythic. Originally, post-exploitation was going to interact directly with Mythic. It was going to handle all the connections to and from the Mythic command and control. I'm looking to go back to school and I'm 30, and I'm wondering if a math degree or computer science degree would be better to be a smart coder dude. You're going to get, at least at the university I went to, you were really close to getting a bachelor's in math with the math you had to take for computer science. What's your end goal? Let me ask you this before I start giving you more advice. Ben DeLuise, where are you wanting to go with it? Are you wanting to get a job as a developer? Are you wanting to work in information technology? Where are you trying to head to? And then we can kind of work backwards from there. I recently just got back into 7 Days to Die, and it's sapping my productivity. Yeah. I used to play a lot of 7 Days. I want to be a smart coder finance dude. Okay. If that's the case, then yeah, go the computer science route. And if you get the opportunity, what you want to work with, if you want to work in finance and some of those financial systems, look at basically how you handle big data sets, right? Believe it or not, a lot of the people that get recruited by large financial firms to do some of that stuff, they're guys like astrophysicists, because they're working on really large data sets and processing them quickly and efficiently. So if you can kind of specialize in that direction, that would be a big help for you. All I want's a security job. I know, right, man? I'll be honest with you guys right now. The market really sucks. And if I did not know folks that worked at my current company, I would not have left my old company to come here. I knew the folks working there, and I knew what was happening with the company, and I knew good things were happening. So that's why I made that jump when I did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made it, because the security industry was already looking a little bit shaky when I made that change almost exactly a year ago. It was like 11 months ago. Sorry, 13 months ago. And right now, just like in every other field, there's a season for planting and there's a season for reaping. This is a season for planting right now. Improve yourself, keep stable, don't throw everything out, don't go risk your livelihood for it, right? Don't go quit your job and just go balls in on doing everything security if you can't sustain yourself and you can't, feed yourself. So what I tell people is, this right now is the time to get that buffing, learn what you can, go deep on some topics. So like if you really like a certain area of security, like maybe you're just all on firewalls, you love them, you think they're the best thing, or web application firewalls even. There's a lot of need for proper WAF engineers, because a lot of times people just think, stick a WAF in front of it and you're good. No. There's a lot more that goes into that, and people just kind of treat it like the redheaded stepchild of application security. Or maybe you just really like web applications and you want to learn that skill set. Keep going forward with that. I caution people to do one thing though. Do not become reliant on using any AI system for that. Using it to help you get you out of a sticky situation, like we've done it here on the stream with HackBot. We're doing coding and we hit an area where it's just, hey, we've hit a brick wall. Maybe we need a fresh perspective. It was really easy to go and provide that to a language model and say, hey, what's a potential solution to this? Get ideas and then work around it with that information. So I definitely understand it's tough right now, so that's why I'm trying to continue to upskill. Exactly. So right now, that's the planting season. We're planting things right now to be able to, harvest them later. Same thing with your skill set. Now is the season for planting, and then once everything turns around, because it will, we're currently, what did Primogen say? I follow him on Twitter, and he was like, I think we're currently 29 months into 6 months before AI takes everyone's jobs. Yeah, it's the same thing in security. AI is making security a bigger issue. And I touch on like all the security issues in that blog post I just put out. And I talk about like, hey, cool. Yeah, you've added a new shiny thing and you just slap some AI on it and see what sticks. Yeah, cool. You just introduced all sorts of new security problems that happen with it. So I talk about that and it's like, hey, look, okay, cool. Well, you add something new. Here's the new security problems. You add something new. Here's the new security problems. And you see this ever expanding attack surface for the systems as you start adding these things into it. I didn't realize how chunky that blog post was. It's like almost 5,000 words until I was actually porting it over to put online. I was just writing it in a Google Doc. All right, we need to pull out some new fields here. So let's do our task. Yeah, what I need to get is I gotta go back over to tasking. I gotta remember what did I even write? There's get our current exploit task right there. Yeah. So what we want to do is, yeah, call this our exploit task. That's going to be, let me think. I think that's get current task in here. Okay, get new task, expand task, basic info. Now, what we'll do is we're just going to pull this directly out of the state table. So what we're going to do is we're going to do state, and then we're going to index that on. Actually, take it back. What was that? State task. That's it. So we're going to go to where was that? Hold on. Yeah, tasks. So from the task right here, what we're going to do is just put that down. State task, and we're going to index that on state current task, just like that. And then from the current task, what we're going to do is we're going to go from the output, because that's where it's getting stored. And then what we're going to do is we're going to index that on get current task, and we just pass in the state to it like that. God, this is ugly. I need to go make there's so many places to optimize this code and reduce this repeatability. AI creates more vulns, which creates more job security. Yeah, it's more like AI creates a lot of black boxes and people don't know how things work, and then whenever some aspiring nerd goes and digs into it and figures out what it's doing, then finds the unintended consequences of those actions. Yeah, sure, go ahead and hard code those API keys in your source code. And git commit. Oh, dude, that'd be funny. Yeah, there's certain functions I will never give any language model access to. One is like writing emails, and the other is committing code to GitHub. Dude, I think, Bobby, yeah, you're right. Whenever you correct it, it always says like you're absolutely correct. I think Anthropic should just lean into that, and they should have t-shirts that just say you're absolutely correct. All right, so once we get the exploit task, one thing else I need is I'm going to need my context helper. I don't remember what that does though. I wrote it and I don't remember. Let's see. Context, that's going to be get. Where did I put that? I'm losing track of my own code base here. It's getting big. But actually, this was one of the things reason why I did this is because I wanted to get used to working with larger code bases and making them. There we go. Build exploit task context. There we go. And we need 2 arguments for this. Let's see. Really? I didn't put a doc string in here? Okay. Let's do that real fast. Let's see. Exploit task index. Let's see. Takes the state in the exploit task index, returns formatted string of all the steps outputs. There we go. That way, at least I'll have some information here. I would pay for one of those "You're absolutely correct" shirts. I know, right? Oh yeah. So guys, this was the bring this up here. So this is the collector's edition of the Bloodhound graph shirt. So they do a charity every once a year, and they make like a collector's edition of some shirt themed off of Bloodhound. And so they did this one, and this was a really important one to me. So I definitely made sure to I was telling everybody, hey, try and go support this if you can. So what they do is they make all the t-shirts, and all the proceeds go to the charity of their choice. And so it was a really important one to me, so I wanted to really get it. Let me take this out real quick. Let's fix this, because I'm going to need to reuse this variable. So we'll do, let's see, exploit task index. I forgot to type these also. That's going to be an integer. It's going to be this. And this, you type exploit task. We'll drop this over here. And then this one right here. Just like that. All right, cool. And then let's go ahead and extract out our task value. This is going to be a string. And this is going to be a string. Boom. And then so for our task, what we're going to do is we're just going to get... Crap, was that in the exploit task? I don't remember. I got to look at the state table. Oh, I got to come down here a little bit. Why did it go to the validator? That's so weird. This is... something went off the rails here. I'm hoping we'll have enough time to do a run of the exploitation agent to go check it. All right. Yeah, there's our task right there. No, that's... Okay, so we don't actually want the exploit task. What we want is we want the overall we want the parent task, not the exploit task. Because here's the exploit task right there. Actually, let me verify this. Let's see. After load pickle, what does our exploit agent have? Now, I need to come further down. Let's come down here. Let's see. Claps, 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 claps. I'm gonna claps them cheeks. All right, let's see. Here we go. All right, so the task was get remote code execution from a web shell. The task, the exploit task, right? So this is the parent task, the main task. This is an exploit task. They're two different entities. Upload a PHP web shell to panel. Upload form and access it via the uploads directory. Okay, I think I'm going to stick with the parent task from this. Yeah. Does it really need that, though? That's the question. Is that going to provide it with extra information? Yeah, I think so. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the main task. We're not gonna get the individual output here. Because what I'm afraid it's gonna do is it's gonna try to make something that does this entire thing right here. I want it to be a little bit more generic, so we're gonna go with the parent task information. Yeah, I'm going to change this. We're going to call this just the task. And rather than getting the exploit task, we're just going to get the current task right there. And then this is going to be our task. Ooh. Yeah. We're going to call this parent task. And the reason for that is because I'm going to get confused because we have fields called tasks. And this is not going to be an exploit task. This is just going to be a regular task object. There we go. So we're going to say parent task, and we're going to get the task field out of this. Just like that. Okay. So now once we got the task field out, now we can actually go through and get the setup. So this is going to be our task and our context. Ooh, just like that. It would help if I spelled context correctly. There we go. Awesome. So now once we've prepared all of this stuff, we're going to drop in our prompt. Okay, cool. So we take our response. Now, I'm trying to avoid having to add another node to this sucker. Right here. I'm trying to avoid adding another tool node, but I think I'm going to have to. Because see, we have our exploit step tool node. I'm wondering, do I need to just make another one over here? Ah, damn it. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to. Because we could execute the tools inside of here, except it's a big pain in the butt. Ah, that's annoying. Okay. Let me check something real quick. There's our exploit tool node. We can actually we could redo this one. Yeah, we'll call this our, instead of exploit, we're going to call this our payload crafter tool node. There we go. So we're going to repurpose this one, except I don't want to... Oh, I actually don't want to pass in that crap. Because we're actually filtering these out. There we go. So we gotta scope that out a wee bit more. And then, perfect. So now for this exploit crafter one, rather than passing in all the tools, we're just gonna pass it now. Yes, excellent. Eventually what we'll do also for these RB tools right here, I might leave that one alone, but down here for the exploit tool node, yeah, we'll probably refactor this, and then after we go through and rename everything over in robo pages to key everything for like exploitation, because like it doesn't need access to nmap, it doesn't need access to FUF or GoBuster, it doesn't need any of those tools. So what we're going to do is we're probably going to maybe completely restructure robo pages. Because see, robo pages, we've got everything kind of set up the way it was before. Right, so like file system, web, maybe those ones will stay in there. But like these offensive security ones, I was like, all we have is offensive security ones. So I think we might have to go kind of restructure robo pages a bit. All right, let's do this. So yeah, so there's our tool notes. So we need to go add. Forgot to add. Actually, have to add a conditional jump from this. Oh, it's a beat down. So now, rather than having a solid edge up to exploit agent, we had to add a conditional jump.
Caution. A virus has been detected.
Marcelo_Devsters virus detected in the network.
Hey, Marcelo, thanks for the raid, man. Welcome in. The Marcelo virus. What's going on, y'all? I decided to send the Cookie Monster to slow things down. Welcome in, raiders. Oh, that was unexpected. I would expect that. Hey, man. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. My name's Blaise. We're building a little hacking bot. It's going to go play Try Hack Me and hack the box for us. Using some very odd AI. It's all odd. It's all crazy. But basically, that's what we're doing. We're building a little AI agent to go play hacking games for us. So, oh, I got everybody coming in. Marcel, what were y'all working on, man? Tell me about yourself. Yeah, all the AIs are definitely cray-cray. They cray-cray, son. So, by the way, Zardoc and Marcelo and Dimitri, thank y'all for coming online. Welcome in. I hope y'all are having a great Saturday or Sunday, depending on your time zone. Dude, so what we're doing right now is we're working on an agent that's job is to go through and do exploits. Oh my god, they're all flooding in. I wish I could take credit for the soundtrack, but honestly, it's everybody else. I just picked it out. So, let's see. Guberto. Guberino, thank you for coming online. And Tonquitav? I don't know how to say it, but thank you for coming online. Welcome in, guys. Love the modem sound. Dude, that is the sound of my childhood. I grew up on dial-up. You merely adopted the high-speed internet. I do love it. Yeah. So guys, like I said, what we're working on right now is we've got an agent here that's doing what's called a web shell exploit. So it's exploiting a PHP server and getting code execution for us on the server through a very weak upload system. And so it went through this loop here of kind of like planning it out, executing it. Now we've got it to the point where it can do the exploit correctly, but we have to finish it off. We got stuck in this loop, figuring it out and working on it for so long. We actually have to go finish the rest of the agent. So what we're doing right now is we're making a payload crafter that after it completes this exploitation loop, it's going to create what we're going to call the initial access exploit. And it's a repeatable chunk of code that we've already completed the exploit. We can just fire this off anytime we need to issue a command to it. So we're working on building out this section here, and I actually got to go add another node for tooling over here. Oh, it's already Sunday there? Yeah. I get so many folks from way outside the US. I love it. Let's see, you're at GMT -3, so you're 9 hours ahead of me. Yeah, it's very, very Sunday there. Hack the planet! In fact, I have one of those. Hang on. Where did I put that?
Hack the planet!
There we go. What AI is that? So we're using, we're building this entire AI agent system in LangChain and LangGraph, and we're using Anthropic's Claude 3.7 on the back end. Because we actually started this project back in February, I think. February or March. And so 4.5 wasn't even out yet. I don't feel like changing it midway and having it potentially bust everything up. But right now, here's where we're at. So this is the entire supervisor agent called Stinger. And so Stinger has, eventually we'll have 4 agents over here that it can work with. Recon, enumeration, exploitation, and there will be a post-ex agent that we're going to start working on after we finish off the exploitation agent. And it's all super rough. If you want to check out the code, it is up on GitHub. Blah, blah, hack the planet, blah. I know, right? I love that movie, though. Everybody's like, it's so dumb. Yeah, but it's like a pug dog, right? The movie's so it's like, you know, you have like little dogs that just do dumb things. They're so dumb, they're cute. And it's like a pug. It's so ugly, it's cute. Right? That's exactly how I feel about that movie. I love it. And plus, you know, it came out when I was 12, and I had such a crush on 19-year-old Angelina Jolie. Just don't hack my phone, please. Not my specialty, man. Mobile hacking is really hard. That's why, if you're not familiar with this, there's companies that, well, they used to. I think Zerodium actually folded, but they would pay for zero-day exploits and systems, and some for like Apple, particularly for Apple, less for Android, but Apple, some of those zero-click exploits went for like $1 million. It's crazy. Let's see. So yeah, so what we're doing right now is we're sitting here and we're just fixing up our little AI agent, having some fun. Yeah, some of those exploits, Lethal, they get big bucks on it. Not my specialty though. I like exploit development. I have done a very, very tiny amount of binary exploitation, and that was 15 years ago. And so much has changed since then. And I wasn't even like up to date whenever I did it. I was doing like baby stuff for like the OSCP. I went a little bit beyond the OSCP when they'd had it, because you mostly were just doing stack smashes there. I went a little bit beyond and was doing like exception handler exploits, but even then wasn't really getting too much with it. My phone's using the Firefox OS. Oh, damn. I didn't even think anybody was still running that. I never messed with it. I mean, I've heard of it. I've seen it. Let's see here. So what we're doing right now is we're planning out the exploit agent, how to actually let it craft this exploit here. So it's going to need to be able to execute some tools. So I think what I'm going to have to do is give it a tool node right here. So you see how we have this exploit step tool node? We're going to basically give this guy one here, but that means we actually have to introduce 2 new functions, one for the tool node and one for these jumps. So in this graph, anytime you see these solid lines, that's a hard jump, meaning once data execution gets passed to this node, it must follow those hard lines. The dashed lines here are conditional jumps. So there's a function in the background there performing some kind of routing logic that says, okay, I'm going to send it here, or I'm going to send it here when it does that. So what we're going to do is we have to take this and convert it to a conditional jump, and then we'll have a tool node here with a conditional jump in it also. But like the validator, it's going to have a hard jump back. So if the exploit payload crafter has to go through and do multiple iterations, that's how it will do it. Oh, it's going to be a pain. All right, let's do this. Let's just go get it set up. Let's bootstrap it. Let's come down to our nodes here. Here's our payload crafter. So what we need to do is we got to add a new, we got to add ourselves a new, actually we had to add a new conditional edge with a function we haven't even made yet. Rip. All right, we'll just add the node for now. Let's go ahead and add that node, and this is going to be the what are we going to do? Exploit payload crafter tools. Oh. I wish I could shorten that name. Anyway, I could shorten it, but I've got a naming convention, and because of the naming convention, it just makes that really long. So now this edge, we have to convert to a conditional edge. So this conditional edge, we're going to go from payload crafter, and then we're going to have to make ourselves a new function here. So we're going to call this our payload crafter router, just like that. We haven't defined that yet, so it's going to throw an error. But for our pathing, we can just make this an array of strings. Let's see. So it can go to exploit agent, or it can go to the tool node right here. Just like that. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Except it's going to throw a fit that this has not been defined yet, so we need to go define that. So let's go define that function real quick. And so everything here takes in a state table that we defined called the stinger state. And so what we can do is we can use this, this state table tracks everything that's happening in here. So if I come back over here, for example, we have a list of like all the hosts that we're working with. So we only have one host because it's a CTF, right? So there's our targets. We've got information about the ports, things we've collected from Nmap scans or Go busters, things like that. And then we have tasks that we defined. Stinger is dumb right now. He doesn't know anything. It's an idiot supervisor. It's just creating the task and then handing them out. It's not actually thinking about how to create the task. We've told it what to create. And as it comes through here, we track like everything in the tasks that's happening. So for this, what we need to do is, oh, how are we going to do this? We need to update our messages from here. So what I need to know is if it has a tool call on it. So I'm going to put a pass on here for now. And it's not going to like that, but that's what we're going to need to do. So actually, let's do something a little bit different, because this can only pass to two different values here, which is these two right here. So it could pass to either the agent or to here. So what we're going to do is we're going to just do a quick, let's say, I'll just make it a comment. All right. Return, it could be either one of these two. Because it can only jump to one of these two nodes right here. We could have made that like an easily definable array up top, but it doesn't really make sense the way the state table flows. Let's see. So how do we want to have it check that? I guess the last thing it can do is damn, how do we want to check this? So the reason why I'm thinking about this is because everything that gets passed between these nodes, we've got to have some way for it to check using the state table. We could reference variables outside of it, but typically everything that's in the state table is how we want to handle this stuff. Is there anything in our state table we might be able to use? Let's go look at it real quick. So here's all of our various steps that we've got. Oh, you know what? I think to this task we added the IAP right there. No, I think the smarter solution is let's go see what we did with the other router function in here. That's probably the better way, not the exploit router. Let's see. Mortivex, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. All right, let's see here. Where's my other router function? Exploit agent router. Is that the one I want? Yeah, this is the one I want. In fact, I need to rename this. Rather than exploit agent router, we're going to call this our exploit step router. That's an old name for it. Let's see. Oh wait, is that the wrong one? Oh wait, there's the exploit step router. I was about to refactor and clobber what I was already doing. Didn't want to do that. All right, let's go to the definition for this. Oh no, it's not the step router that I want. What I want is, I need to figure out which routing function did I use for... Oh god, that's ugly as sin. Here we go. Which one did I use coming off the exploit step processor? That's what I want. Which one was that? So where's our conditional edge from exploit step processors? That's exploit agent router. Is it? From exploit step processor to... Yeah, I gotta refactor that because I'm gonna get that name confused. So we'll call this our call it the exploit tool router. There we go. So we'll refactor that one right there. Yeah, so literally all we do is we go check the last message and then look. So yeah, we can just duplicate this guy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. What happened to my freaking cursor? There it is. Actually, I take the back because that doesn't need to be like that. This was a special case where like, hey, we were going to call a special agent. Instead, what I want to do is... let me make a copy of the function that we used in the recon agent. Recon was kind of like my test bed for a lot of stuff. Let's see, where's our recon router? There it is. That's it. So we just checked if it has a tool calls. That's it. Yep, easy. Let's try this real quick. So this is pretty confusing stuff to me. I'm a level 3 extended diploma student in IT, but trying to follow along and understand. Dude, you're coming in basically, I don't know, 3/5 of the way into the project. But essentially what's happening here, we've got some design decisions that are happening. So let me come back to Stinger real fast here. Hold on. Before I do that, let me leave a note for myself on what I'm breaking here. I think I'll remember what I was doing with that. Anyway, so what's happening is, let me bring this down here. And you gotta remember, so we're doing coding. We're not doing IT, right? This is, the way I kind of put them together is that IT is applied computer science is applied mathematics. So I have a degree in mathematics. I'm not actually much of a coder. This is part of the reason why I'm doing this project, but I do work in IT I have worked in IT for 15 years, and I've worked as a offensive security specialist, penetration tester for 7 years. So don't worry about it. If you have questions, feel free to ask. But essentially what is happening here is more or less each of these nodes is making some kind of a call to a language model. We've bootstrapped it a bit here. So we are giving it some kind of like static user input. The initializer makes a language model call to go format it into a series of tasks and steps, and we assign them to an agent in here. Stinger doesn't really do anything right now. Eventually it will, but Stinger's job is to handle routing. basically sending program execution to these other nodes. Now, these nodes are actually entire graphs right here. See that? So when we pass to recon, what we're actually doing is we're passing to this subgraph over here. Let me bring this kind of like this. That might make it a little bit easier to grok. So we've got this entire other graph of nodes that we're executing, and they do the same thing over here. So our recon agent goes and looks at the task. It goes through a validation function. That's another tool call to see, hey, do we already have information about this task? Do we actually need to go execute any programs or functions to gather data? It might be, hey, we already know the answer to this. We don't have to do that. And it will just return back and say, okay, task is done. Or it might say, okay, hey, actually, I need to execute a tool. I need to run Nmap, or I need to run GoBuster, or FUF, or whatever to do some reconnaissance and gather data. It'll execute that, it'll format it, and then we make a tracking change to it. So all of these, this one's a language model call. This one's not, it's executing a tool. This one's a language model call. This one's a language model call. So we've got a data structure that as we gather information, we're constantly updating and tracking and bringing all this stuff over to. And then finally, the idea is once all the tasks are completed, it should have compromised the box, gotten user level access to it, and then done privilege escalation to get root level access to it. I'd argue that computer science is first-class mathematics in and of itself, not just some application. I mean, yeah, if you're going full computer science, yeah, it is. There's a lot of stuff more than just like applied computer science. It's a subfield of mathematics. Don't get me wrong, but that's essentially where a lot of people conflate computer science with being a programmer. But the two can be very different. They overlap quite a bit, right? But there's definitely areas of computer science that you just don't do in like normal application programming. You might do it in like some special cases where you're trying to maybe highly optimize something or build in a feature that literally no one has ever thought about in a program. Some kind of new data structure, and then you're trying to make it efficient. I mean, heck, that goes back to like what we were talking about earlier, where he wanted to work in fintech. I was like, okay, you got to start working on systems with large data sets and how to do those efficiently, like astrophysicists do. In fact, I knew a guy when I was in university. He turned down a job for a giant fintech firm. He was working as what was he doing? I think he was working as a postgrad, and he was making, I don't know, like 65 or I think about $60,000 to $65,000 a year. He only worked about 20 hours a week though, 25, maybe 30. They were gonna work him to death, right, and have him pull in like 100-hour weeks, but they were offering him something like, what was it? Like 300,000 or something. And he's like, nah, I'd rather just have my chill life and make less money. He just really wanted to work on astrophysics stuff. He wasn't that attached to the money. So, yeah, so Mortivex, that's what's happening here. And basically this kind of idea is repeating as it goes through these different loops here. So here, let me bring up the recon graph real fast. So bring this over here. Yeah, there we go. That'll kind of work. So what it's doing is it's just executing a graph with some code of what we've got. And then all the code we've got defined in these various nodes. And each of these nodes is basically just a function that's operating in the background. That's why I said if you want to be a coder, study political science or something else that's interesting. Only study CS if you're truly interested in math, science, or in the math and science of computability, right? Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Ken. Oh my god, this graph is looking so ugly. It's because we haven't finished kind of working it out yet. Let's see. So we're not going to give him the ability to call special agents. So we just need this, and actually, yeah, that works out pretty good. So we don't need last message called in here. I'm going to put a note in here though. We're going to say, check last message for tool calls. And if it is, then where we're going to route this to is our special tool node right there. Otherwise, we're going to route it to the exploitation agent. Boom, just like that. All right, easy. And see, this is a very common pattern too. So this is something we would go find out where we've implemented this in the code, abstract it, and maybe put it into a routers utility where we could have it kind of put in there. Their code is very unoptimized. By the way, if y'all, I think I linked to it. Yeah. So the HackBot GitHub, you can see all the code in there and what's happening with it. I really like the side of creating things too. And I was talking with my manager. This was a wild conversation to have based on where I came from versus where I'm at now, right? So where I came from, this conversation never would have happened. Where I'm at, we were discussing things and she was worried that with my live streaming and the projects I'm working on stuff, I was going to burn myself out. And I said, I appreciate that. And I think about that too. But this is one thing I really like doing. I like the creative process. Plus, it overlaps with security quite a bit, but it's far enough removed from my day job that it's helpful, but it's not overlapping to burn me out. I really like this project we're working on, and I've got really cool ideas for in the future once we get to it. Right now, I just work on it on the weekends though. I only usually work on it on Saturday and Sunday nights when I stream. All right, let's see. I think that's good right there. So we need to go check the response when this comes back. We'll probably have to do a formatted output on this though. Yeah. All right. Let's see. So after we get the response back from the language model, stop scrolling. My mouse is the mouse wheel has a mind of its own. It's because I abused it. Yeah, so after we get our response back, we could actually just take that response, append it to messages, and call it good. We could just return the state message update. Although I feel like we need an area to track the initial access exploit. All right, we got another to do here. Find a way to track updates to the IAE. Because it's not going to get it in one shot. So we got to give it the ability to be able to loop through this and figure it out. Let's see. What is it that you do? Also, is computer science linked to mathematics the way it's linked to cybersecurity? I mean, kind of. I'd say you gotta think about it. So math, the overarching universe of math, if you think about it, computer science is one piece of it. It fits under the umbrella of mathematics. It's typically like a theoretical or applied field of it. But for the most part, you're working in binary or potentially quantum states in there, but those are all subfields of the bigger overarching umbrella of mathematics, right? So yeah, they're definitely related to one another. And what I do is I work on as a contractor, basically. So my company gets hired, company comes to them and says, hey, we need to test our security. We want somebody to try and break in. They hire my company assigns me to that client, and then I go and attempt to hack into their systems and see how I did it. More often than not succeeding, way more often than not. Anytime I have to write a report with no findings in it or where I didn't complete the objective, I get so pissed at myself. And so I work really hard. Computers exist in mathematics and always have. We did not invent them, we discovered them. I don't know. So I always have, an ethical hacker, pretty much. So I think we've had that discussion before of, was math discovered or created? I'm actually more on the lines of math was created based on observations of the physical universe. I'm more of a mathematical creationist, if you think about it. And the reason I say that is because if you think about it, we couldn't really determine if our mathematics was universal until we met an alien species that we had never interacted with and compare our mathematics to theirs. And the second reason is because all of our mathematics, like all the symbols, all the methodologies, everything that we have developed for that, if a giant meteorite came and took out the Earth, that stuff's gone, right? If the human species ceased to exist and everything we've ever created, all that mathematics is essentially gone too. So I kind of look at it that way a bit. All right, unfortunately, I did just see the time and I have to go to bed because I've got an early ride day tomorrow with my older son, who's Agent Zero, because he's the first in the children's array. All right, let's go check InfoSec streams. By the way, if you like offensive security stuff, or even defensive stuff, go check out InfoSec streams, because there's people on here all times of day usually. Especially like during the daytime US hours, there's lots of folks on here. This time of night, it's usually just us. All right, let's see. Who might we go? If you have any raid suggestions over on the Twitch side, shout them out. We'll see what we can go find. I like using Hack the Box. Dude, I don't dislike Hack the Box, but it's so contrived from where I was that I have some feedback on it. Let me just say that. I don't believe that a primary physical universe exists. I believe that mathematics is a bit more fundamental, independent of the symbols and language we use to describe it. You could go with that. Hey, P44, thanks, man. You have a good night, brother. All right, let's go see who's on. We might be able to give a cool raid out to. Let me see. Anybody online? See, Johnny Cash is on. What's he working on? Doing some kind of dev work. Let's see who else we've got. Let's see. Coppinger, what's he doing? Vibe engineering, do it live. No, I think he just came online too, so he should be gone for a while. We'll go give him a raid out. All right, guys, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, that is where I got to cut it. I can't do a late stream tonight because I got to take my son riding in the morning. Everyone, y'all have a fantastic rest of your day if it's still early for you, or have an awesome Sunday tomorrow. Take care, get prepped for the next week, get some recoup in, and we'll hit it. So I think that's all I've got for you guys. We'll keep working on HackBot tomorrow. We'll finish off with, see how close we can get to finishing off the exploitation agent. I can't wait. It's getting there. It's getting close. But I think that's everything I got for y'all. Oh, I forgot. Have a great Wednesday. Damn it, Ken. I forgot one very important thing to tell y'all. That is, I love you. Peace.